Hey guys, so I know I didn't do a dedicated video to section 4, which is Grendel's mother. I am going to do this video for 4 and 5, sections 4 and 5, which both have to do with Grendel's mother. And the reason I'm going to do it this way is because Grendel's mother's section is just so small compared to some of the other pieces that I figured it would just be easier to do one combined video to cover those last two sections that are in the hardback textbook. The in-person students are going to be given a copy. You guys, your stuff will look similar online. But we are starting with section 4. And some important things happen here. So first of all, we are introduced to a new character and given a new opportunity for characterization, description, the whole 9 yards there. So interesting plot point. Obviously, this whole situation comes about because of the death of her son. Everybody in the mead hall is like, oh my goodness, finally it's over, we can rest easy. And so they do, and then we hear about this brooding and this upset, angry mom who has just lost her kid, and she goes out for revenge, which sounds pretty reasonable for, I guess, most moms. But, they make it seem like this awful, awful thing. And, of course, them putting their guard down leads to Grendel's mother being able to just bust right into Heorot, and they actually kill the king's advisor and his, Bessie. So what happens is this death of Grendel kind of shows a more human side of Grendel's mother that they describe. And then, of course, as soon as she, goes into Heorot, we see, that normal description of her being very animal-like and using her claws. And we definitely see that again as we move into the battle with Grendel's mother. I want you to keep in mind that they do focus on her being a woman. They don't focus on Grendel being a boy monster, but they focus on her being a girl monster. And they focus on this, like, almost bad thing that she's a mother and she's experiencing these emotions. And I want you to keep in mind that she doesn't have a name. Her name is Grendel's mother. She's not even given a name, and she's the only female character we have access to in this text. So that might tell you a little bit about what they think about women. They are typically seen as unimportant in this society. They are not highly valued. They're seen as weak, emotional, just not who you go to for anything, essentially. And I definitely see that description popping up again and again throughout her two sections. And if you think about it, they even focus on the fact that she only takes one life. She only kills that one person, and that's why Hrothgar, the king, gets so angry about it, and he grieves his advisor, almost in a similar fashion to how Grendel's mother was grieving Grendel's death. And so we get this description, like, she's got low numbers, but we still get this angry description and this aggressive description, but with that little bit of loss as well. And it's almost like Hrothgar and Grendel's mother have a little bit in common, and they can't stop to, like, see that they are experiencing something common. So they continue to keep the death going. But of course, there's also that, religious good and evil undertone going on here as well. As for the adventure on the way to the den, we get a little bit of, background information here and there about what it looks like on the way there, which we get a lot of that description previously with the death of Grendel in the previous section, and also we get a lot of that description in the first section where we learn about where Grendel lives and whatnot. So similar descriptions, dark, damp, not pleasant to be, smelly. We get all these same descriptions there. And the nature just really, the description and the nature that is constantly described in this last couple of sections are really, really over the top. Like, those descriptions are very, very highly detailed. And of course, Beowulf is called on to like handle this issue. So we hear about Beowulf's adventure on the way there, the nature being very unpleasant. And we find out that Beowulf is going to have to kill Grendel's mother to revenge Hrothgar's advisor who has passed. And then we move on to the battle with Grendel's mother, which originally is posed to Beowulf as a challenge, and Hrothgar says, you can have whatever you want if you kill her. And he's like, cool, I have nothing else to do today. So he does. He accepts the challenge because it's Beowulf. That's what he does. So he accepts the challenge, and they describe him as fearlessly accepting this challenge. Of course, because what is Beowulf if not prideful and extremely overconfident? So we have that going on. We have this fearlessness described. And if honestly we're thinking and looking at this text, we get more in Grendel's mother's section about Beowulf and Beowulf's attitude. Even with the battle as well, we get more of his characteristics and his actions more than we get Grendel's mother's actions and behaviors. Which I find very interesting. But then again, he is the main character, so it makes sense that he would be mentioned a lot as well. We have more nature and really descriptive language, particularly on the way to the lake and the den itself, what it kind of looks like. I kind of imagine it as like a sunken Heorot, like almost like a Atlantis kind of situation, but like a wooden Atlantis. Yes, I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but the lake is also on fire. So if you can make that make sense, we're all good. So this is just my personal image. I like to see them like battling in a mead hall, just like Grendel and Beowulf do in the first battle section. We see as Beowulf is like taking several hours to sink to the bottom of this awful lake, right? That's boiling and hot and steamy and nasty. She actually finds him almost there and like grabs him. Grendel's mother grabs him and pulls him into this den, this whatever it is, and pulls him in there, and like they start doing battle. And the fight scene is pretty short. If you notice, the fight scenes seem to be a little short. I mean, they're gruesome, don't get me wrong, but they are short. Like, you would think they would be a lot longer for how long this text is, but they seem pretty quick. So the fight between Grendel's mother and Beowulf is pretty short in the sense that she tries to stab him a whole bunch, but he's got chainmail on, which protects him from being stabbed. So he can't be stabbed through it. I'm sure it still hurts, but he's still not being pierced by the dagger that she's trying to stab him with. Which, if you think about it, using a weapon is a very human thing. Animals don't use weapons to hurt other animals, but people use that to hurt other people and animals. So it makes it seem very human to her again, but then she also tries to bite his head off, which makes her seem very animal-like, and they also describe her with claws. So we are again getting that really conflicting description of her being kind of animal and kind of not. We don't get as much of that with Grendel. I mean, maybe a little bit towards the beginning, but we don't get a ton of that. But we see her as kind of like this very conflicting beast, for lack of a better term. And then she actually loses this fight, and Beowulf grabs a sword made by giants, because why not? Grabs this sword, chops off her head, still isn't happy with that. Goes down the hall to look for Grendel's body. Beowulf cuts off Grendel's head. The sword he's using melts, like it liquefies. And Beowulf takes the head and the hilt of the sword that's left as trophies. It's a hall full of treasure. And he takes a severed head and a sword without a blade. This tells me quite a bit of information when I'm thinking about it. So, as much as he could have like carried armloads of trophies and stuff and great like treasures from all over, He chooses that honor and glory and fame, which at some point in the text they actually directly say the only thing he's worried about is fame. But we also know that at some point, Hrothgar's people assume he's dead. And so they just leave him there and say, oh, big talk, he lost all his fame because he couldn't kill Grendel's mother. Sucks for him. And they leave. The Geats actually wait, which remember the Geats are Beowulf's people. The Geats actually sit there and wait. They wait for Beowulf to come back. And he does. And it takes like 4 or 5 guys to carry Grendel's head, but it took Beowulf no time at all to swim to the surface with that and a sword hilt. That also doesn't make sense to me, but then again, the lake is on fire, or was, before the death of these monsters. Notice that they say that the water is now calm and has changed since Beowulf has killed the monsters in the lake. Think heavily, guys, about what this society is suggesting about all of these focuses on glory and fame, focusing on masculine traits over feminine traits, focusing on the idea of being remembered past death, honor and respect. I don't know, there's just so many things they focus on with this, and craftsmanship. That's why they take so long to describe Heorot, and they take so long to describe this sword in the actual text. The part where they describe this like sword made by giants is actually really lengthy in the actual book. So kind of keep that in mind. Some of this is pared down to be manageable. But it's crazy. It's a lot. And we kind of also see some connections with God and Beowulf. So now there's light down at the bottom because Beowulf has killed Grendel and Grendel's mother. So now there's no monsters in the lake, and Beowulf has purged the lake. He's cleansed the lake, and God can now be seen there and put his light, his holy light, into this situation. And we see a similar situation when there's this golden light on Heorot, or the throne in Heorot, excuse me. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Hopefully I catch it. Oh, God and Beowulf, right. So, sorry guys, it's been a long day. Sorry, looking at email. Sorry, my bad. Okay, focus. Beowulf and God, okay? So we see the light on the throne. We also see this coming through into the den now. Beowulf, again, has cleansed this situation. And notice that every time, Beowulf is successful with something, they have to, simultaneously give praise to God. So it's not just the strength of Beowulf. It has to be the strength of Beowulf and God put together and meshed. And this is definitely that connections you're starting to see, I hope, with the Christian religion and the pagan religion, the Anglo-Saxons and the Christians, merging into this, society that becomes England, early England. And at the very end, we kind of leave everybody's respecting, Beowulf, and Beowulf walks up, drops the head in front of Hrothgar and was like, boom, I did that. So, respect me. And he does. He gets respect, he gets honor, he gets titles, he gets treasure, he gets anything he wants. And we also get a little hint of, jealousy and stuff like that from some of the other people as they're staring at him, wanting to be him. And your classmates are doing a really phenomenal job with this. So I hope you guys are enjoying this text as much as I seem to enjoy this text. I love Beowulf. I think it's such a cool little starter story for English literature. And keep those conflict comic strips going, and keep in mind that there still is another battle to come. And if you really think about it, there's probably 2. So we'll be in touch with those sections soon. We'll probably be finishing up this text, I'm thinking, next week. So be ready. We have about 3 sections left after you guys have finished this one. So I think there's 8 total. So you'll have 3 more. I'll have a couple more video versions of the text to show you. And we will be wrapping this up and moving on to what is known as Middle English, which is definitely my jam. So I'm excited to work with that particular time period with you guys. So let me know if you have any questions. As always, I am around. I am posting these videos to help, so I hope you're watching them. And again, let me know if you have any questions. I'm here. I'm not getting a lot of questions, so I'm assuming you're good. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Enjoy.